안녕하세요. 매일매일 운동하기를 실천하고 있는 동탄 왕코입니다. 아침이에요. 오늘부터 오후 출근이 시작이 됐습니다. 운동하기 너무 싫어요. 갑자기 현타가 오네. 오늘부터 사회적 거리두기 2.5단계, 오늘부터가 아니고 8일 0시부터 시작이죠. 많은 업종들이 영업이 제한당했습니다. 영어학원도 가야 되는데 영어학원도 집합 금지 명령이 내려졌죠. 저희 회사에서는 영어학원 갔다 오면 7일간 격리입니다. 오늘 진짜 운동 너무 하기 싫은데, 운동을 안 해서 운동을 하고 싶지 않은 것 같은 느낌이 있어서 일단 영상 켜고 뭐라도 해보겠습니다. 일단 스트레칭 위주로 하고 할게요. 혹시 운동할 때 CNN이죠?
This is my safe haven, my home. More than 1,000 islands scattered in the middle of the Indian Ocean. Conservation is my life. By working together, we can protect our ocean home into the future. The ocean gives us life. I know I will always be there for her. I hope you will too. Welcome to the Maldives.
We have to fish where the fish are, and restoring the hospitality and tourism industry in New York is paramount right now. We're in an environment with 67 million fewer consumers this year than last year. So how do we reinvent that? We're really turning to New Yorkers to bring back the vibrancy and to stimulate some of that spending once again. At the core is really re-envisioning tourism for the moment. We're bullish on New York and we're bullish on the recovery. And the recovery is, we think, is certain, but it's going to be gradual. And so, in a given year, 15, 16 million international travelers come to New York. The other 50 million come from the United States, and half of those in a normal year come from the drive market. So we're really already really well positioned to stimulate some spending locally. We just have to give people the confidence again. We have to show them that the New York City streets are vibrant, that the city is safe and welcoming, and we can begin to show the world how New York is reconnecting with itself.
Want a daily dose of Fareed and his team? Now you can get it with Fareed's Global Briefing, the newsletter that gives you the best insight and analysis on global affairs. Go to cnn.com/Fareed to sign up.
I'm Dave over in Wuhan, China.
CNN sold Hong Kong.
We stopped it.
In Athens, Greece. In Copenhagen, Denmark.
In London, and this is CNN.
Coronavirus. To get daily news updates in your inbox, sign up for the CNN newsletter. Coronavirus. Fact versus fiction.
When you travel the world, make sure the world travels with you. Check in, log on, and get connected with all of the latest developments at your fingertips. CNN Park Hotels, connected to your world.
Welcome to The Lead. I'm Jake Tapper. We're going to begin with the politics lead, and one of the biggest bombshells today.
The straight talk you need.
That seems to be, to me, completely contradicting.
From your man in Washington.
It's all food for thought when you and the public are trying to decide who to trust.
Who won't back down.
We're getting a new look at the headwinds that congressional Republicans already are facing. A monumental day in our politics.
The Lead with Jake Tapper. Tuesday through Saturday on CNN.
I'm Nick Payton Walsh in Tehran, and this is CNN.
They represent every corner of the world, inspiring us with their determination and triumph. Paralympians are athletes athletes with a range of disabilities who gather every 4 years to compete in 28 different sports. Due to the pandemic, the Tokyo Games have been postponed until next year, but that hasn't deterred competitors from their rigorous training schedules.
In this programme, we'll meet 5 athletes from around the world whose stories embody all the willpower, strength and ambition that make up a superhero. Queen Elizabeth Olympic Park in London, home to the 2012 Olympic and Paralympic Games. It's here 8 years ago that the world's top athletes gathered to demonstrate their physical prowess in sports like rugby, athletics and swimming. Now, with the Tokyo Games just around the corner, competitors are gearing up once again to go for gold.
Paralympians far and wide, wherever in the world you find yourself, one of the unique things is that they've taken a life that society has told them is broken, and they have turned it into something extraordinary.
In Minnesota, Mallory Wegman is training for her 3rd Paralympic Games. A swimmer since the age of 7, Wegman's talent in the water took her to the pinnacle of athletic success. The journey to the podium started with a tragic accident. 12 years ago, Wegman became paralyzed after receiving an epidural injection to treat her back pain. She was 18 years old.
Some days I can talk about it and I'm totally fine. Some days I still get choked up when I talk about it. It's just one of those moments where, like, everything you know changes. I call January 21st, 2008 my sudden moment of impact. But the reality is our society is facing a sudden moment of impact right now. Everywhere in the world we are living it. And it makes that day for me so much more emotional because my heart feels the depths of it.
With the encouragement of her family, Wegman decided to find out more about the Paralympic movement.
On April 8th, 2008, just 2.5 months after my injury, I got back in the water for the first time. And it was my bridge. It bridged my past and who I was to my present and where I was at in that moment. And it led me towards something in my future, something that could be hopeful. And that was a game changer. My paralysis has made me the best version of myself. I'm a 2-time Paralympian for Team USA. I am a gold and bronze medalist. I'm doing things that I never dreamed possible. But it still doesn't take the pain away from that day.
This year, due to the pandemic, the 31-year-old had to get creative with her training when the pools were closed. In her home gym, she used a land-based Vasa trainer, which emulates swim strokes.
You trust me, don't let go.
You trust the sand?
Now she's back in the gym 5 times a week and in the pool as well.
10 of them, no paddles. I think my biggest piece of advice to somebody who is an aspiring Paralympian would be to not let other people determine your worth. What other people think of you is not a reflection of you and what you're capable of.
In addition to swimming, there are 3 other Paralympic sports that take place in the water. Paracanoe, for example, is a fierce short-distance sprint that requires massive upper body strength and balance.
Those who use wheelchairs like me are very often restrained from visiting areas on land with bumps or stairs. However, once I get into a canoe, there are no bumps nor stairs on the water.
Stroke by stroke, Monica Seryu canoes down the Kunaka River in Tokyo's Koto ward, which will play host to many of the water sports in next year's games. The 23-year-old knows the waterway well. She's been coming here for more than a decade.
What I like about being a canoeist and an athlete is that I've gained so much muscle and physical strength. And as I've gained this strength, I've become more confident in myself.
When Seryu first started canoeing here in the heart of Tokyo, she met Minoru Kimura, a homeless man whom she eventually befriended.
He was my first fan. He helped us clean and move our boats, and he would tell me stories about when he had gone overseas as a fisherman.
One day in a high school gym class, Seryu's life changed forever.
We were practicing a mat exercise called a handstand forward roll, but I lost my balance and fell vertically towards the ground in a strange manner. Then I heard a crack from my back, which I've never heard before. I was unable to breathe.
Seryu was rushed to the hospital. The injury had left her paralyzed below the chest.
After I was injured, I was deeply shocked by the fact that the life I was envisioning vanished all of a sudden. I was canoeing before I got injured and thought I would never be involved with canoe again.
In 2014, only a year after her injury, the Tokyo Paralympics were announced for 2020, and Seryu decided to begin training in paracanoe, which shortly afterwards was added to the Games. At the 2016 Games in Rio, with only 2 years of training under her belt, Seryu was able to place 8th. Inspired by her determination, Kimura found a job as a construction worker and was able to move into his own apartment.
Mr. Kimura was most delighted to support me from the very beginning towards the 2020 Games. But he passed away in his apartment while we were at training camp in the summer of 2018. I was terribly shocked and devastated, and I had a tough time practicing. But I still had a strong will to strive for 2020, carrying his hopes with me on my boat. I still can't help crying when I remember him.
Motivated by her special friendship, Seryu practiced canoeing 6 days a week in Koto Ward. She's also won some more admirers along the way.
After my visits to local elementary schools to talk about canoe and the Paralympics, more and more children are learning how to canoe. I feel a sense of achievement from this.
With the Paralympic Games right around the corner, the Tokyo native says she's looking forward to competing in her hometown.
As the Olympics and Paralympics will be held in Tokyo, I personally feel very secure, and I think it will be a great advantage to compete in my hometown.
Flying cars and driverless trucks are already a glimpse into the future, with the promise of faster and more efficient travel.
Making a plane fly itself is easier than making a car drive itself. The mission is to free the world from traffic. The future of transportation is going to be in the air.
What will change in our buildings, in our cities, and in our lives to get us there? Tomorrow Transformed, Saturday on CNN, in partnership with Expo 2020 Dubai.
Have you been bitten by the bug of curiosity? This is CNN 10. My name is Paulo Zeus. I'll be your explainer-in-chief.
Global news.
International relations are the key factors.
different stories.
Everyday people whose action is changing their community.
Complex issues explained.
발굽혀펴기 10개만 하고 끝내겠습니다.
And 10-second trivia.
You
알겠어.
get a perfect
힘들어.
10 out of 10.
All in 10 minutes. Stream
아,
at
손목이 아프구나.
youtube.com/CNN10.